Hello everyone, my name is Trump and I'm a member of Group 8 and here are all my team members. Today I will present Chapter 14. Firstly, I will define the nature and function of communication. Communication not only encompasses both interpersonal communication, communication between two or more people, and organizational communications, but it also plays a vital role in any type of organizations. Communication acts to control employees' behavior in several ways. Informal communication also controls behavior. Moreover, communication acts to motivate it by clarifying to employees what is to be done, how well they are doing, and what can be done to improve performance if it's not up to par. As employees set specific goals, work towards those goals and receive feedback on progress towards goals, communication is required. Besides, for many employees, their work group is a primary source of social interaction. Communications therefore provides a release for emotion expression of feeling and for fulfillment of social needs. Finally, individuals and groups need information to get things done in organizations. Communication provides that information. The communication process contains seven elements. It's passed between sender and a receiver. The message is converted to symbols from a pass by way of some medium to receiver who retranslates the sender message. The result is the transfer of meaning from one person to another. One reason is that managers face barriers that can distort the interpersonal communication process. Let's look at these barriers. There are two cognitive barriers to communication: information overload and filtering. Beside emotion, social cultural difference and national culture also create.
Thank you, Jim. Now I will introduce you guys what an effective organizational communication is. First, communication within an organization is described as formal or informal. For example, when a manager asks an employee to complete a task, that's formal communication. In contrast, just like when employees talk with each other in the lunchroom, they engage in informal communication. Next, let's look at the ways that organizational communication can flow. It can flow downward, or the opposite, upward, or others are lateral or diagonal communication. Now it's about the networks. The vertical and horizontal flows of organizational communication can be compiled into a variety of patterns. There are three main networks, as shown in the figure: chain, wheel, and all-channel networks. And contrast with all listed network is grapevine, the informal organizational communication network. Workplace design also influences organizational communication. That design should support four types of employee work: focused work, collaboration, learning, and socialization. So what about communication in the internet and social media age? Technology has changed the way we live and work. It has created a 24/7 work environment, and it is possible to stay connected around the clock and, yes, work from anywhere. Also, social media allows managers to communicate through one channel and encourage sharing experiences. While information technology allows collaborative work, managers must be cautious that they do not overuse technology. In other words, they should balance the pluses and minuses. And managers must also choose the right media for the message they are sending. That's all.
Thank you, Bartong. And now I will summarize communication issues in the organizations. So the first communication issues is to communicating in a digitally connected world, and there are two main challenges. The first challenge is legal and security issues. And now I will take two examples for legal issues and security issues to let you guys have a better understand. A good example for legal issues is that recently in Vietnam, Mrs. Lê Thị Sòng, who is chairman of the board of Benday Food, Fewer lawsuits and requirements is Nguyễn Phương Hằng, who is CEO of Dynam Stock Corporation, to pay 1,000 billion VND for adjusting her honor and product brand during a live streaming on social network. And a good example for security issues is that recently in America, Colonial Pipeline and 3BF Food Company suffered a cyber attack and had to pay up to tens of millions of dollars to get the system working again. And the second challenge is lack of personal interaction. The second communication issues is to managing the organization's knowledge resources, and to solve the problem, managers need to enable employees to communicate and share knowledge so they can learn from each other. Communicating with customers is also an important material issue because it affects customer satisfaction with the service. So organizations have to recognize the three components in any service delivery process to influence the customer. And the three components include the customer, the service organizations, and the individual service provider. Net. It is very important for organizations to get input from their employees, so managers should let employees know that their opinion matters. And here are some suggestions for employers to do, for managers to do it. And finally, a company communications efforts need to be ethical. Communication that includes all relevant information is true and every sent and is not deceptive in any way. So next, I will discuss how to become a better communicator. So everyone can become a better communicator through sharpening the listening, persuasion, speaking, writing, and reading skill. And for the reasons, those skills enable managers to influence others and to change their mind or behaviors. Also, through those skills, managers can communicate effectively in text or conversation. And now I will pass to Ying, who will continue the presentation.
Next, we come to chapter 15, organizational behaviors. So the first we have the focus and goals of the organizational behaviors. So every organization is based on good managers, and managers need good people skills. And in order to understand the employees, we need to understand their behaviors. So behavior is the action of people. So the OB is the study based on the action of the people at work. So the focus of OB is to identify both visible and hidden perspective above and under the iceberg. But in general, there are three aspects that we need to study on. The first we have the individual behaviors, which based on the psychologist. Next we have the group behaviors based on the sociologist and the social psychologist. The third one we have the organizational aspects, which including structures, cultural, human resource policies, and practices. So the goal of OB is to explain, predict, and influence behaviors. So there are 6 of them. The first category, we have the influence, which including employees for activities and OCB. The next group, we have the explain, which is the absenteeism and the satisfactions. The last group, we have the predict, turnover, and the counterproductive workplace behaviors. So next we will come to our 15.5, attitude and job performances. So attitudes reflect how an individual feels about something, and an attitude is made of 3 components: cognitions, affect, and behaviors. So about the cognitions is an attitude refers to belief, opinions held by person. The affect is an attitude of the emotional part of the attitude, and behavioral component, or I can say the behavior is an intention to behave in a certain way. So next we have the satisfaction. So high level of satisfaction equal positive attitude and vice versa. And it's all linked to the goals of the organizational behaviors. So job involvement and organizational commitment. Job involvement is identifying with the job, and the organizational commitment is with the organization. So this is wanted to show the support to employees that they are valued. Next, we have the employee engagement. Employee engagement is when the employees are connected, satisfied, and enthusiastic about their job, which will comes to the cognitive dissonance, which is the any inconsistency between behaviors. And we have the attitude surveys are the sets of statement or questions analyzing how employees feel about their workplace. And the last, we have the implication for managers, which is managers should be interested in the employees' attitude because the employees made the organization. Thank you so much. Now I will transfer it to my next friend.
So thank you for each part. My name is Sung. Now I will continue with the personality session. An individual personality is a unique combination of emotional, thought, and behavior patterns that affect how a person reacts to situations and interacts with others. There are two most well-known approaches to identify personalities, including the MBTI and the Big Five model. In MBTI, individuals are divided into four groups: extroversion or introversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving. While in Big Five model include five main personality traits: extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to experience. However, they are not the only personality traits that can describe someone's personality. Five other personality traits are powerful predictors of behavior in organizations, such as locus of control, Machiavellianism, self-esteem, self-monitoring, and risk-taking. A couple of other personality traits deserve mention will consist of proactive activity and resiliences. These are all interesting traits that have been studied extensively, and we know that no personality type is common for a given country. A country culture will influence the dominant personality characteristic of its people. And moreover, we can't leave the topic of personality without looking at the important behavioral aspect of emotions. How we respond emotionally and how we deal with our emotions are typically functions of our personality. So, emotions are instant feelings and directed at something or someone. One area of emotion research with interesting insight into personality is called emotional intelligence, which means the ability to notice and to manage emotional cues and information. That is the end of my part. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wing, and next we're talking about perception. It is defined as a process by which we give meaning to our environment by organizing and interpreting sensory impression. Perception may differ from each other, although we see the same thing, but we may think variously. For example, two people standing in the opposite side, so they may think it is a number 6 or number 9. However, it is hard to conclude who is right and who is wrong, because it is just a perspective difference. Three factors that influence perception: perceiver, target, and situation. Attribution theory is used to explain how we judge people differently depending on what meaning we attribute to a given behavior. It depends on three factors: distinctiveness, consensus, and consistency. Fundamental attribution error is the tendency to underestimate the influence of external factors and overestimate the influence of internal or personal factors. Self-serving bias is the tendency to attribute their success to internal factors while blaming personal failures on external factors. It is easy for us to judge people if we assume they are similar to us through assumed similarity, or based on a perception of a group to which that person belongs. It is called stereotyping. And halo effect, a general impression of an individual based on a single characteristic. Next, we jump into learning. After perception, people start learning in order to change behavior in an accurate way. Operant conditions argue that people behavior is the function of its consequences. People may learn to get something they want and avoid something they don't want. Social learning theory, it is a theory of learning, says that people can learn through observation and direct experience. And finally, is shaping behavior is the process of guiding learning in graduated steps using reinforcement or lack of reinforcement. And that is all for our presentation. Thank you for listening.